hello for gaming community and Beyblade community as a whole. We're here today for, guess what? Another podcast. I've noticed from listening back to back that I sound exactly the same or say the exact same thing on everything. It was not a custom intro of mine. It's just something I guess developed. So sorry if I sound whack or nerdy. Anyways, we have a very, very, very special guest here today. Um, Staff of the WBO. I I wanted to give like a super duper big introduction. I should have been more prepared, but he is a friend of ours. Myself and Crisis Crusher. Mike is here today as well. Um, I'm sure you know the WBO. You know him. His name is pretty synonymous with it. All right. And without further ado, we have Think. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Say hey.
Yeah, man. Thanks very much for the warm welcome. Don't need a big intro for me. Yeah, pretty, as you said. I guess a lot of people listening to this are going to know me already. Staff of the WBO, probably mostly known for plastic stuff, and for sort of just being ever present in every single discussion we have. I just am around because I love Beyblade. It have since I was a kid, and as much as I've always had my ups and downs with it, always just a lover of the game and want other people to enjoy it like I do. So really happy to be on here and be happy to talk about some stuff with you guys today.
Yeah, man, we're happy to have you. Very happy to have you. And hey, Mike, I've also noticed from listening to these, I'll say hey, and then you have a brief hey. But if you want to say hey, man, I'll have your little intro. And you can go for it, brother.
No, I mean it's fine. You told them I'm here, so they know I'm here.
All right.
We've got Mike. He's just lurking in the shadows. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, to be fair, we were gonna try to have Think on a lot earlier in the show when we first started it, but we just never got
the
to
the time zones. Yeah, if y'all
It's
don't
rough.
know, yeah, he's in Australia. We're on the East Coast of United States. It's early in the morning. I'm sorry if I sound groggy. I always wake up early, but I stayed up too late last night. Mine was racing just from things at work. So I apologize if I sound groggy, but yeah. But it's working out. It's 7 a.m. over here, 7 p.m. over there, right?
Correct.
And yeah, it's all good. But thank you for finally getting on. I'm sure it'll be a great discussion today. I know you and Michael, and we'll jump into it later with the proposals and discussions. But
yeah.
I'm sure many have heard it if they did listen to the Zencast before. Our 310 listeners that may or may not have heard it. How did you get involved in Beyblade and your journey kind of up till now?
So, I'll repeat the fun part of the story. So my cousin got some Beyblades, and he and I were always really close. He got some Beyblades, a Galsley and a Roller Attacker, and I saw them and I was really envious. And then I got my mom to get me some spinning tops that weren't Beyblades. They were terrible. They had this sort of spring launcher, absolutely garbage. So yeah, I got over those real quick and got Beyblades. Very focused on the stars in the box. So I got a Dronzer S, a Dragoon S, and a Galsley because they had the best stars in the left spin gear, which turned out to be a really good decision actually, not because of the stars, just because left spin and Dronzer S base worked out really well. So I convinced myself that I was really really good at this, and then played it with my dad every weekend. Years passed and I collected a few things here and there, but as a kid a lot of things got beat up. There are a lot of fakes. And then I was looking one day and saw Metal Fight was out and had a look at it, and then I was looking for information. I found this Beyblade organization and BeyWiki, which is something I was very passionate about as well back then before it folded into the Wikia. And I just started sort of posting. I was under the name Media King at first. Started posting, got known for writing really long posts, just full-on essays, and I still do it a bit, but they were bad. I have the record for the longest news post now as well, which is really cool with the plastics rule update. Very proud of having one like the longest staff post on the WBO. It's perfectly on point. But yeah, I got involved with MFB, got a bit of a name for myself there, and then got really back into plastics. Sort of did a lot with the format because it was a bit sort of derelict. A lot of stuff hadn't really been explored, so I did a lot to build plastics up into a much more competitive format. Some stuff happened with Metal Fight Limited, which I helped create. I left for a while and then came back after 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And behaved for a bit and then immediately started getting into fights with people again. I can't help it. I think it's part of being Australian. I can't help it. But not that I enjoy it, but but it was really good to get back and see that we still have a lot of really good debate, a really healthy debate, and people like Mike here in particular, who I really enjoy talking to because we can argue about stuff, and at the end of the day, we can come together and we can just have a chat on Discord.
Yeah.
But yeah, and over that time, I eventually became staff. I do marketing specifically, but on the organized play side of marketing, so trying to get tournaments more attention. So there's more that I want to do than I am doing at the moment. So you'll probably see a bit more of that soon. But that's what I keep myself busy with now.
Okay. Solid with your story. I know. Now, as soon as I'm thinking about it, I do want to learn a little bit. I guess it may be off script. So sorry if it comes off guard.
No.
What is the marketing like totally consist of, like with that job as far as the WBO?
We've been a little quiet for the last little bit, but we run you'll see we used to have contests on Start, and we should have, I don't know what to talk about, we should have another one coming up soon, where we do like giveaways and so on. So we run those. We also work on, like, say, Bay Days, the bigger events, and that's sort of something where I want to see more sort of more of us engaging with community run events, because we don't put as much into making these big events anymore, which is a bit of a shame, but it's all about using the resources effectively, and we have organizers and people such as yourself with Dark Continent who can make these massive events that are sort of beyond a lot of the scale of what our small little team can do. Or has the time or availability to do without any sort of, like, we're obviously we're a non-profit, so no one here's can really take time off their work or anything to do that. And aside from that, it's just like managing the Instagram, and for my part, I'll try and reach out to new communities as well, just to create that sort of more direct engagement and just keep engaged with the community in general. Whether or not that's a specific role that I have, maybe not, but it's something that I take very seriously. Aside from that, I also try to manage our Instagram a bit. Been a bit of work there, but there will be more coming along with that soon. We try and get photos from events, so I've got a pretty big backlog at the moment, and you should start seeing very soon more posts celebrating the events we do. And then another side of it is that we will manage organized play announcements and rule changes in general, so that's mostly Dan's job. He does a lot regarding that, so we interface pretty heavily with the organized play team as well, which is sort of, given the whole, if you look at it this way, the WBO's product is organized play. Marketing is going to have to market organized play. No offense to the anime manga participants, but we don't really have that much to market there. Except, I guess, outside of, like, a lot of the creation is something that I really like, and something that we should really be doing a lot more with, and probably will be doing a lot more with, in terms of, like, creators that we have, because we've got a lot of very, very talented creators who engage with our community and are part of our community. But yeah, it's mostly just mostly just attention seeking, really, which is why it was the perfect pick.
Solid. Yeah, that is dope. I've always we've Mike, I can't remember what interview we talked about it. It may have been with Kay, when we talked about the marketing and the news, just because we're older. Mike and I'm not sure how old you are. You don't have to say. But I know
I will say 31.
Yeah, 31. Okay, solid. So you're around.
Pretty old.
Yeah. We're not super old, but it's like I saw the takeover that social media had on so many things. We just talked about it with TSO, and like going from the forums, or I remember when, like, the internet actually came out and we had dial up. So so it's like now
sound engraved in my mind.
Yeah, and now we have, like, so many social platforms to be able to utilize, and this is from our show, but also listening to Beyblade or Meta Madness, and just a transition from Discord and all these things. Like, even when I initially had the store and I was trying to get the market and trying to get involved with Instagram and all these things, and I had no clue what I was doing, but then I saw how beneficial it was, and I think for a while I had noticed that the WBO wasn't like they had
Yeah,
things, but it wasn't as active. So it's great that um,
yeah,
you're taking that over and able to do some promotions with that. And
yeah.
um, yeah, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that input and also your effort in doing that.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I still always feel like I'm not doing as much as I could be, but we're trying to get out there a bit more. You'll see that I sort of will share stories if organisers will tag us in stories of the WBA tournaments they're doing. I'll
Hmm.
basically always, as long as I'm awake when I see it, we'll share that onto our story as well, just to sort of get the word out there for people, because we're more using it as a tool to get attention for our tournaments, for our organisers to actually have the players come along. And you'll see lately we've started doing posts when like new areas start hosting, like or have been had their first tournament in a long time. We'll put
Hmm.
a post of that. I've got a little bit of a template which we're rejigging because I'm no graphic designer. But yeah, you'll see a bit more there. I think as well. Obviously, it's a bit weird for me because I'm not really a social media guy. I come very much from the age of the internet being forums rather than these, say, five or
Yeah,
six tightly regulated, technocrat controlled, like
yeah,
um, generalized spaces where you instead of these really passionate forums, they're all sort of controlled by basically a few dudes um, in California mostly, or like Russia, I guess, for
yeah,
a
yeah.
couple of them, China for TikTok. But they're all these very small, very few spaces, and I think we've lost a lot from that, but we've also gained a lot in terms of our ability to reach a larger audience who aren't necessarily looking just for Beyblade.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think it's important that we do. As much as I miss the old days of the forum, it's important that we do keep adapting, and be conscious of the fact that we need to engage through these other servers because that's where the people actually are.
That's um that's very true, and it's something that I think is just growing pains for us all because we all like
Mm,
dislike. It's human nature, like change.
yeah,
It's always tough to get through, but if we can, I know it's helpful. I know eventually soon I'll probably just be stuck in my ways because even my
yeah.
music right now, I can't listen
I
to a
feel
lot of
you.
the new music. You know, it's like
I
it's just
feel
what
you.
I grew up with, and that's it.
Yep.
I do want to ask for my Instagram because I didn't. I know the so I work with Playthrough Gaming.
Mm,
Well, and we're a vendor there, and we just hosted a tournament there. It's a convention local to my area, and they have their hashtag. Is there a specific hashtag? I know you had the World Beyblade um,
mm.
organization hashtag, but is there a specific hashtag for the new marketing or promotions that, like, if I put it in there, you can automatically see and share that type of stuff?
No, we don't, but that's a really good idea. I'll have a chat to the guys about that and reach back out because that's definitely something we should look at doing.
Yeah, because they had
Like,
a
yeah.
my bad to cut you off, but they had a it was because they had the playthrough hashtag, but they had a specific one for all the vendors or whoever was with the event, and you put it in
Mm.
there, and that way they can go directly to it, like it, share it, and things like that. It's just something I thought about.
No, that's a really good idea, actually. Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at doing something bigger in terms of outreach to get more engagement from our current members on our Instagram as well.
Hmm.
So I will add that to my list of things to do. I always love, like, we're all helping each other out here as well. 'Cause all of us, as you
Yeah.
said, we're a little bit older. We're still sort of finding our way around social media. And sorry to the kids listening to this, having to listen to me sort of figuring my way around clumsily around social media.
No, it's
But
so
yeah,
good.
stuff like that's super helpful. Like I always appreciate suggestions, and I think generally we do as an organization appreciate suggestions being brought up, whether we agree with them or not. We appreciate them being brought up. So yeah, I'm going to note that one down because that's actually a really cool idea.
Solid, solid. Yeah, if you get it, shoot it to me, or if y'all do the promo, and then because I always take photos at all my tournaments. That's like one of my happiest times, and I'll definitely I'll throw that tag up there. Um,
Wait.
but thank you. So we'll hit with the scheduled topics now. I
Mm.
think first up we had like the current meta, and I guess
You mean
for
you mean BDR?
for BDR,
It's
yeah, and I'll let
BDR, Extreme Dash, and Drift.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll let y'all because I know I really want to listen to y'all because I know I get to read a lot of stuff
Mm.
on your forum, but I want to listen to your both of y'all's input in person and thank you. Yeah, so the current meta, you could take it away, Mike. Or you could take it away, think, and go from there.
I mean, like
Yeah,
we said already, it's mostly BDR is the
it's
meta.
Yeah,
it really is. It's just like It does make me a little sad. Like I'm someone who likes, like my big driving thing is variety and accessibility, and there's like 20 drivers sitting under BDR's shoes right now, that are all still doesn't change the overall balance of the game. Maybe makes guilty or attack slightly weaker, but they're sitting like just under it. But BDR right now is the centralizing force, and it's why attack's seen a pickup. And yeah, it's like, I mean, what was the last like Maryland winning combos list from like a standard format? It was just like 3 sets of BDR, Extreme Dash, Drift, or at least like the top 2 was that.
Yep.
And like the thing that makes this difficult for anyone to deal with is that the meta game itself is balanced. The types are balanced quite well. It's just the format requires a part that's in I'm not entirely sure what it is over there, but I get quoted like a $60 part basically.
Yeah.
And like centralizing around that just isn't like that cool to me. Like some people say, you spent the money, you should get the wins, and I think that's valid, and I think there should be an option to do that. Not to rush to the next topic there, but we'll say I'm alluding to it. But
I'll be 100% honest. I was a little disappointed that Lucifer came with Bearing Mobius instead of just like a reprint for Metal Bearing Drift.
Yeah, same. Devastated.
Like if it would have came with that, then Metal Bearing Drift would have been accessible to everybody under only a $20 like purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think with majority of the stores, and we had it at one point, but we just sell out because our stock isn't as big. A lot of the stores will split up that DX set. So I know I did, and I believe Bays and Bricks did. I think Beyblade Premiere did, but you could just get the, what is it? That's not Savior. What is Baron Drift?
Divine Belial 3.
Yeah, Divine Belial 3. But then if it gets sold out, or it might be also crazy marked up.
A lot of the websites right now are sold out of it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I've bought like 3 of them individually just to check for part variations.
Oh, I bought 3 sets and then just sold. I sold the 2 other bays on one of the sets to offset like half the cost, and I was pretty happy with that. There's not a lot of competition down here, but there's also not a lot of inventory. So, but the other thing is obviously with my familiarity with previous generations, F230, which would probably be the closest maybe the closest equivalent. In terms of being a late release part, I mean, because it was a random booster price rather than set price, but that's like a $300 part now, for like the best one. And we're going to see the prices of BDR, like, invest now sort of deal with this one. Like, don't actually. Shindog has a really good breakdown of why Beyblade's a terrible like long-term investment to like buy and then sit on and then sell. But like, that price is only going to go up in time as well. And as much as, yes, you spent this money on an expensive part and you should be able to use it, there's a lot of people who can't do that. And it's kind of bad when, we can get rid of one part and have like 20 different parts that people might have sitting around that are then usable, even if it's just in one direction. They're just sort of not now.
Can y'all tell me, like, I think you hit on it before, Mike, but I couldn't remember. But have y'all used, so Atomic and Universe don't even work in the same spin with this, correct?
I don't think they do anyway. They self-KO too much. But like Moment is really struggling now, and that, in my opinion, was probably one of the best. Zone Dash plus the Hasbro Z. High Wave Dash was super good, especially in Same. But was pretty much immediately taken out by BDR. Metal Never's really good. The gold version of Never's really good. There's a lot of stuff out there that works. We started seeing Quattro and Same Spin winning combos. That's just gone now.
I will say this, because this past weekend, we did have a 5G tournament for TSO to practice in, because she was going to Japan.
Yeah.
And so we played WBBA 5G, and of course, so we played in the DB Stadium.
Yeah.
I will say
it's not good. It's not so good there.
Bearing Drift is still good, but other stuff is also viable. However, then you run into the issue of rubber flats do not work.
Just do not. And like you get KOs, but they don't feel like attack KOs. They feel like double stamina KOs.
Yeah,
and I think that's where some people get confused.
It's just like a instance where like recoil just happens,
Exactly.
and one is just in front of the pocket and the other's not. And
exactly. I mean, the one thing I do like about DB though, like the only thing I like about the stadium is the pockets design that so rebounds don't happen.
Yeah, that is
it
something.
Completely solves the debate.
Well,
yeah,
I will also say I do like in the DB stadium that it is completely symmetrical no matter how you put it in.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that. Like I almost feel like the DB stadium would have been fine if it would have had 4 pockets instead of 2.
Yeah.
Without that flat out, it's the flat outer area that really kills it because that's what just throws attack off. Get rid of that, give it 4 pockets, probably perfectly fine.
Yeah, probably would have been a really good stadium.
Yeah,
Mike, with even in Maryland, because honestly, I didn't see Attacking Universe using until I went up there. Are none of the guys up there using it? Guys or gals?
No, not really.
Yeah, have y'all tried it? Has anybody tried it? Like I know I agree with you, Sniper. I mean, I'm sorry, I agree with you. Think it's it is a self KO.
Hey, man, it's kind of an honor. It's okay.
No, I know. I called you Sniper because Sniper is the one that really introduced me to the utilization of Universe. He was the first person I saw use it, and he had one that I guess it was awoken beyond belief, and he had insane control with it. So I was just wondering if he,
dude, man.
Yeah, I was wondering if he utilized it or anything like that.
Well, we were using Universe up here during the sparking era because we found it to be really good against the Extend Plus variants of combos. But it was just once DB came out and the low discs, like it just doesn't work as well. Same thing with Atomic. Like if instead of Atomic Dash, if they would have made High Atomic, I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
They've both suffered from the more powerful launches as well. Like you can't sort of like a well-tuned high extend plus dash or like any bearing dash. You can just yeet the heck into there. Other things you got to tune to not self KO, and those you just like Atomic Dash. I struggle to keep that thing in a lot of the time.
Yeah, I do too. It's one of those. I guess it's one of those unique things because it's majority. I self KO with Atomic Dash. I self KO with Universe. Like I said, when I went up there and I saw Sniper using it, I was like, I could never use it. And I did come back to North Carolina. I tried so bad, but it was always go out. But he had it's just something that he worked with, and he used that combo like so much, and his Universe, it was perfect, and the skill he had with it. So shout out to him for that. But yeah,
it's amazing how far you can get with some things with skill, like Sniper. Someone else sort of who obviously was familiar with Sniper, and I've heard compliment Sniper, but someone that I respect a lot is Bluesy, who's come back a little bit recently, though he's mostly just playing Metal Fight. It's the same sort of thing. Some people are just damn good with like the weirdest stuff. They just I guess just practice with it. They get it to that right state. They practice that launch tech, and that's something we don't see as much in Burst as we did with MFB. If you go back to some of the old Metal Fight threads, you'll see there's a lot of talk about launch tech. Like one of my combo threads, like every like test I do has an instruction on how to do the launch for that matchup, because there's a lot to do with launch techs, and that's more important in generations with height like MFB, but it's something that we definitely don't look at enough. It's something that like I know a few bladers are good at with stamina as well. Like I know obviously some people have different opinions about K, but his stamina launch is really, really on point. There's a point where technique is still really valuable and you can eke out these wins against parts. But we also have to consider that most bladers don't have the same amount of time to invest and practice, and that these people will still be rewarded no matter what we do with BDR. Because they're still gonna. It's one other thing. In fact, if anything, it makes it more rewarding because there's a lot more parts where, you know, they have those matchups against. They can learn and practice against, and it becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more, I guess, challenging. And you really get that real advance of skill when there's like 20 different drivers you could be facing in your stamina match.
Yeah, it's definitely like at this current point in time with BDR being the central focus of the meta, what really like separates some players, like I want to say like the more skilled players from the less skilled players, it's who balance tunes more and does it more
honestly.
accurately. Like, and that's one of the things that like, you know, I got really heavily into doing during the sparking format, and it got even worse in Dynamite because there's so many
Yeah.
more parts that you have to balance.
Mhm.
Like I spent, I want to say it was like 4 hours between all the parts I have to perfectly balance to my wind BDR
Oh,
combo.
mate, my
Yeah.
the dynamite FL over moment combo I was using that I haven't dropped a match with it. Not that I use stamina that often, but like that thing took like days
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
trying all my different dynamites and feeling with the moments and feeling with my overs. That thing was nuts.
Mhm.
But I mean, and that that rewards really important. And now like you tune your BDR and that's basically your set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really even think about that, about all the variations, because I know about balance tuning. Doing it with the older generations of burst was way simpler, but
Yeah.
it's not even the variations of the parts that we have, like all the different moments or all the different
Mm.
molds or whatever, but it's like just the different pieces to even build
Yeah.
one dynamite combo and high.
Yeah.
Do you balance tune for high mode and low mode, Mike?
As
Or
much
or think
as close as I can.
Yeah,
yeah.
I prioritize low mode a lot,
Yep.
but the other thing is like I found with Dynamite plus F, it'll beat Wind, but only some Dynamites and F gears, and only some combinations of them can do it. It's absolutely bizarre. Like
Yeah.
there's like a 30-40% maybe of them that can actually get there. Um,
Mhm.
of
Yeah,
each, it's whack.
it was really weird because Bro Yito, he has a really
Yeah,
well balanced tuned out Dynamite F gear,
yeah,
and any person he played against with Wind on BDR, he was just outspinning them
yeah,
like crazy. But then when we played, my Wind was beating his Dynamite F, and he's like, I don't understand this. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
I
his
would
his seems to do well until it spins out, and if it goes near the ridge, it struggles a bit. Um, so I mean, I don't know what happens in your guys' specific matches, but yeah, it's so weird the amount that can go into these. And the reason I don't use wind is because it can drop matches if it's high extend plus dash. Sometimes. But again, that could be tuning on my part as well. I might just have wins that aren't quite as good.
Well,
no, it's
no, you're pretty correct. It generally loses the high extend plus, but
Mm.
then I actually found like there's a specific trick to it.
Yeah.
I'll tell it to you afterwards on what I
Yeah,
found the
yeah.
trick
Let's
to be.
not put it out here. Keep it with me. I'll keep it to myself.
yeah, yeah. What was Bro Ito on with
But
his dynamite?
PDR.
BDR? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
mirror match. It's just like I said, his dynamite on BDR was able to beat everybody else's at that tournament's win on BDR except mine.
Yeah. You had your I remember you also no, it wasn't during the Sparker meta, it was during the DB meta, but when you were using Baron and the specific launches you had with that.
Mm.
And those are some of the things that I appreciate. I've spoken on with
Yeah,
you and Arca Paul, and that changes the it I don't know if it necessarily changes the meta. It I guess it does in some sense, but it's like those parts that only certain people can use, like we were
yeah,
talking about with Sniper and stuff like that. It makes it unique with the testing because it's like
yeah.
technically this combo should not beat me, but the skill that this blader has makes it so. And I think that's really unique.
Oh, like when I
Yeah,
was using tapered bearing on dynamite instead of over and was beating people with over.
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I started watching. I've actually started like trying to get videos of people doing combos when they're not matching my testing, just so I can see if it's the launch. Like I've started
Mhm.
trying to get videos of people using stuff. Like currently obviously there's a lot of talk in Classic about Dragoon BDR, and then Maryland's really struggling with it to the point where they don't want to play anymore, and then other areas aren't. So I've been trying to get videos of people using and winning with it there, where it doesn't match other things, just to see if it's just launch. Um, and to try and learn more about that because it is something that there's a lot of area to move in and might be why there's can be like a vastly different results across regions.
Mhm. Mhm.
I know sometimes we like to say air pressure, but like there's definitely factors here. And bearing is one of those parts as well. Moment is really susceptible to that for certain matchups as well. Like you have to get the angle like right, otherwise you will like not make enough contact, or sometimes you don't want to make contact, and sometimes you just need to get against that specific opponent at that right angle. It's there's a lot that goes into Beyblade that I think a lot of people don't recognize.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more I play, like the more that I realize that. And from traveling through my different regions, I think
Mm.
we hit on this on the last show, but it's like each region the way that the launch is and the way that people play is so different. Like we could all be running the same combos, but it's I've really noticed like from going to Maryland, playing here in North Carolina, Virginia when we come together, going down to Georgia, see different things, and a couple of times I've been to Florida. Sometimes you'll see different variations in the combos and what the current meta is in certain regions. But when you do see like some things that look familiar, you'll see the way that they launch and the way that they play
Yeah.
is so different, and it a lot goes into it. And it is, I guess, it's a beautiful diversity within the
Yeah.
game that you can see, and that's I enjoy it. I enjoy it. So yeah, it's definitely something to factor into. I wanted to ask with your testing. I don't know
Yeah.
anyone that tests the way or as much as you do. Do you have any tips for testing or go over like with your testing and I guess it's still in the process of the meta because but I know you mentioned it.
I think one of the big things with testing, obviously, just sitting down with your parts in front of you and doing it is one of the big things that I think
Hmm.
you have to, but you have to be able to enjoy it. But one of the other things is when you're testing, if you want to actually get the right results, you do still need a second person to go to.
Hmm.
I've had combos like there was a guilty combo I was using that I thought, oh, this thing beats everything, and yeah, I just grabbed my dad, who still remembers basically how to launch a Beyblade, tried it,
Hmm.
and it just didn't work. So part of testing is you have someone else to bounce off, but in general, it's just being methodical and trying different things. Sit down, grab yourself something like some snacks, some drinks. Sit down and play Beyblade for a bit, just for like a couple of hours. Practice, test, try different angles. Make sure your parts are equally balanced as well. Otherwise, you're going to throw yourself off.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's really just about sitting down and doing it. And some people I get are just not going to enjoy that. They live for that competition. I'm a little different. I live for finding stuff out and documenting it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, for a competitive game, obviously that means I have to play every so often, but and I enjoy that. But yeah, testing's just about sitting down and doing it. Sit down and just try everything, even if you think it might be really weird. Like moment I didn't have a lot of faith in until it just started wrecking stuff. I
Hmm.
got kick working really well in same spin a couple weeks back. Well, actually, originally like a little bit before BDR released. But I was playing with it in like a BDR-less format, and the same spin kicks really good, even though no one likes it. It's just a matter of tuning it. It needs wind specifically, so it's just about trying stuff.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just gotta have that curiosity.
That's pretty dope, and it's beautiful to hear because I know a buddy of mine, CSC Raymond. I know he does a lot of his testing in the same way that you do, and he gets
Yeah,
incredible results. Because he's like I would say he's the Mike of his region, 100%, or the Crisis
mm,
Crusher of his region. He does a lot of testing, puts a lot of time in, and
yeah,
then
yeah. He's top.
the area will kind of adapt to his way of play. But all his testing is or majority of it. Y'all put it in the comments, CSC Raymond Jr. and Senior, or CSC Craman Jr. and Senior.
Yeah,
But I know him and his dad, they do majority of their testing themselves, and then they come to the tournament, or he comes to the tournament and still wrecks. And that's really solid to see as much time and effort as they put in, and to hear that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing the same thing, man. That's beautiful to hear.
It's a great formula.
You know, I will be honest. I was really excited for the end of Burst and the fact of it gave us a lot of time to then just start messing with parts
Mm,
and
Yeah, I
find
remember that.
to
Yeah.
find those weird combinations that people never would
mm,
have expected work. Like Think just said, kick on wind. I mean that
Mhm.
I can see where it probably would have a really good same spin matchup,
mm.
but we got stuck with BDR, and now it's like
And it's
that.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's solved.
that whole
Yeah.
So
that whole
we've mostly
experimental
solved the
phase is
format.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day because that was the hype thing. It's like, oh, we get a 6 months or a year hiatus, and we can pull out all these old parts. And it's like BDR was like, no, you're doing none of that.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but
I'm
no, you
here.
can cut that right out.
Yeah, like Burrito gave me a yielding to test out, and
Oh
you know,
man, yielding's so cool without
yeah,
BDR around.
without BDR around, right?
So
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I guess.
I was messing with
There's
it,
like
and
20 plus drivers that are just sitting there, like just not really usable because BDR's around. There's like 20 of them that I've found so far.
Yeah,
100%.
I'll be honest. When they announced BDR, I was honestly just hoping it was going to be regular drift, just with a bearing in it and POM. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I was
Yeah.
hoping for. I was just hoping for it to be a more,
I was hoping it'd just be like an opposite spin driver without the
Yeah.
variation drift has.
yeah,
Mhm.
you know.
It's I will say the beauty of it though, and you mentioned this a couple of times, Mike. And maybe it's because I've been trying to get better with attack, but I'm using a whole lot
Mm.
more because that's
Yeah.
that's one of the more surefire things to go to. It's like, look, forget the stamina game. Either it's going to be a mirror match, opposite spin battles. It's going to take up a lot of time, and then I'm kind of chancing it on who's balanced tuned better, who has a better mold. It's like, let me try to go for the KO.
Yeah.
And that is one aspect that it has helped me with. It's not 100%, because you still got to hit it at the right angle if someone knows how to defend pretty well. It is what it is, but it has got me using it more and trying different attack drivers that I wouldn't have tried before.
Yeah, I think it's definitely led to that. Led to a lot more attack, but I honestly sometimes feel like, especially with Vanish, just completely taking a back seat because it's just not that good on
Mhm.
BDR. Like Wind was already hurting Vanish, but like as soon as BDR released, Vanish fell off basically. But yeah, it's been a massive boon to attack in general.
Yeah, like it's like I said, like I mean this opinion probably comes from back when I did that proposal for like all those different like things that I was just trying to say is this is what I think is wrong and I think we should fix them. And one of the things I said was about the DB stadium going becoming ranked as well, and everyone just hated that part. They wanted DB to be its own format and everything. But like one of the
Yeah.
biggest like backlashes I got was people talking about attack on how it's already not doing super great, but putting it into DB Stadium just kills it and blah blah blah. But then now, attack is very viable, but the same people are upset that now not as many stamina drivers are able to be used. So it's kind of like I'm like, where do we draw the line? Like, what do we all want here?
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's a delicate balancing act. Like metagame balancing is hard work. Like obviously I worked on Metal Fight Limited, but metagame balancing is super hard.
Yeah.
Like I think at the end, like the game's balanced, like type wise, pretty well right now. If anything, a little too attack friendly. It's well balanced, but like, man, it's not diverse. It can be
Right.
balanced and not diverse.
It's balanced, but it's not diverse, and that's what
Mm.
makes it sad.
It gets stale real fast.
Right, because you're just, I mean, it all really depends on your mindset. Like, I guess, like, super competitive players like myself, I probably, because I come from Yu-Gi-Oh! So I just
Yeah.
probably see it as, okay, this is just the meta. Like, whoever plays it better is the better player.
Yeah. Yeah. That's typically what it is because what we agreed the three like it not being a verse was Baron Drift, Extreme, and Drift, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
It's basically that.
The only acceptance is like when you play in 3-on-3, you'll probably see High Extend Plus or Bearing be the third combo instead of the Drift.
You get a bit of that. My 3-on-3 is like guilty on quick, ultimate on extreme dash, and then the bearing drift. But like, man,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the one place you see it is people not running one that to attack. Then yeah, we do see bearing on those.
Yeah. Y'all wish me luck for this Sunday. I'm going in there with no bearing drift. I don't have one. I didn't get one in time, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna try to do my best.
How fresh is your rubber?
So we'll see how it goes. I know majority of people. We have a lot of new players, but
Are you guys playing 3-on-3 or?
yeah, we're playing 3-on-3.
Well, at least then it's only one match out of 3. You got to face it.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. All right, so here's what you do. Your other two combos, make them left spins with just drift and metal drift and hope for the best.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, like, because it does change the perspective of 3v3 when majority of people are going to be running with that bearing drift, or it's very right spin heavy, and most of the left spin that you'll run into will be attack, because no one is going to be running or no one, I guess, would, unless they're, super ballsy, is going to be running like a left spinning drift and a 3-on-3 deck,
It's
but
it's actually pretty funny because Alan Schaefer, when he comes to a tournament that's 3-on-3 and he brings his son JJ,
mhm,
because JJ's so little and he can't really like launch hard, Alan just makes him a deck of like all left spin, two drifts, and a Mobius, and just lets him play. And
yeah,
it's so funny because he will beat people.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
I was trying to use the math, and like if they're running two right spins, I do have a 66% chance of running into it. I got a 3% chance of running into, because people are using Vanish, but it's like you'll either have Vanish, or maybe you'll have Vanish and Guilty, but the chances aren't that high. And if I'm able to get against that right spin, then I do have a chance in there. So it may, I don't know, I might be one of the crazy people that actually try it. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah. But back onto I guess the meta, and then getting into your proposals, because I know you brought up your proposal, Michael, one of the many that you've had, and think with the record for the longest proposal in history, you said?
Yeah, that was the old plastics one that I did. So we love our proposals.
Hmm.
I definitely appreciate, like, there's so much discussion that we have on the WBO, and a lot of it just doesn't go anywhere because it doesn't actually get written up into a thread and put on the forums. So having someone like Mike around who's willing to make a proposal, like, and actually put these ideas out there is really important.
Yeah, yeah. It is solid, and I appreciate y'all both for that. I don't put up proposals as much as I used to, because I did get I got a little bit frustrated and tired of arguing, but
No,
I
I
do
feel you.
appreciate yeah, I do appreciate y'all for what y'all do. So to hop into it, man, the unlimited proposal, and to hear both of y'all's mindsets on that when it came about, and what you were really thinking, because I think that's something that's really shaking up the WBO right now. Like, in my opinion, it's the hottest topic going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so well, that proposal came literally straight from so many arguments on whether to ban BDR or not ban BDR.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like, because it was a big thing just happening on Discord, like, and like I kept thinking about it. I'm like, well, why couldn't we just like have two separate formats, one that is basically standard and the other one that's basically limited, MFB limited, but for burst, but we just consistently update the ban list
Yeah.
based on meta. Instead of it being like, oh, this is banned, because of, whatever 16 months ago when it came out. Well, now
Yeah.
at this point in the regular format, it's not doing anything, so we could unban it because parts have come out that are more balanced, but still beat this part.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's just there was a lot of talk about optional bans, and then there's been a lot of talk about people wanting WBBA rules and people wanting rebounds. And you'll find that most people who like BDR around like rebounds and various sort of things like that, and want the WBBA rules entirely. And like that's totally a valid take. Like the WBBA make the product, and a lot of their rulings are done at local levels on a case by case basis, apparently. But like there's a lot of validity there. But then there's also people who want that more, I guess, that sort of like limited idea format where, we're taking a more active role in managing that ban list, especially when we've got a new generation coming out. That's something we're going to be probably needing to look at more as well. I know they're talking a big talk about performance on TT's side at the moment.
Mhm.
So it'll be keeping an eye on if it's going to be a generation where it's going to be one massive power creep after another, like we had in 4D for a little while there, back in Metal Fight. Where it's something maybe we want to keep an eye on, but we also want to have, everyone being able to play with the latest and greatest parts, because that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important to me, as well as the fact that, sometimes we find something broken, then eventually it turns out there was a counter to it the whole time. So having a format that's more actively managed and just, see out that we have to dedicate the time to managing it's super important to me. And the method that Crisis brought up, like when he first said, I was like, oh no, that sounds silly. You're just adding a format just for this. But then I realized that basically what he was saying was, it's a lot more encompassing than just like, oh, it's just a whole format to not have BDR around. It's a whole concept you can apply to multiple different generations. Like Metal Fight has a BDR of its own in Rubber Defense Flat, which is possibly even worse for the game than BDR because it actually does warp the meta and type viability. Lack of a ban on that was always a questionable thing, but yeah, having this proposal that that makes, I guess, the WBBA fans and the people who want to go like all in, and giving them that while also giving the other, like, basically it's sort of half and half at this point. The other half of the community, the more sort of traditional WBO experience where we acknowledge, Chikara Tomi's there to sell product. Sometimes that means they're going to sell something that's a bit too good. And we can provide an outlet to make the format still be fun, competitive, and varied. Where just doing the latest releases and being too hands off about bans as we currently are because of that reason, where we have the space to actually do that in is really important. It was such a good idea. I very rarely write proposals for other people's ideas. Not in the habit of doing it, so props to Mike on this one. I think I immediately went and posted in the Star Forum. Crisis just had an absolute banger of an idea, and I'll be writing something up. But like, man, it's like such a good way to solve it, and it solves almost all of the issues I think people have.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it also, like, because right now, like, we have Beyblade X coming out, and as Beyblade X progresses, if something becomes problematic in the main format, rather than sit there and deal with it for 6 months until finally another part comes out that beats it, after the first month or 2 months of us just seeing it's wrecking the format, we just ban it. But then
exactly.
you have the unlimited format still playing with it. So that way, then, like, when a new part does come out and you see, oh, this part completely counters this, it is okay now to unban it in the limited format.
Exactly, because both these formats are going to be popular. Like, I'm very sure, like, you can see, as I said, the community split, both these formats would be hosted very regularly. And that'll let us keep track of what's going well and what's perhaps not going well. And if, like, a new part comes out that actually does really deal with it, we get to see that without having to do, like, experimental tournaments specifically for this and have this long ongoing debate. We can just see it working.
Yeah.
Not to mention the limited format, because it would be more balanced. People would be more subjected to taking an older part and testing something with it. So then, like, you might actually end up finding that there's an older part that counters this newer part, but you never would have saw that in the unlimited format because everything is coming out like monthly, so you don't have time to go back and try all of these old parts.
Yeah.
That is like that is super accurate as well, because like the big part to me with this is the WBO's like most successful format that it's come up with itself was Metal Fight Limited. Obviously I'm biased there, but like by the numbers it's more popular than Metal Fight Standard. It's more popular than Metal Fight Standard. And when we launched it, one of the reasons that I was such a big fan of it was we had, like, again, I don't know how much of your audience or how much you guys are familiar with it, but Bakushin is this layer that's sort of it's like a little speed bump, basically. It's a little mobile speed bump, really cool, and it never got used. It was tested for attack. It's one of the best defense type options and possibly the best, barring Libra, which was just unbanned, in the format. And it was completely unused.
Yeah.
Media opposite has been never used. Like, we have all this time, sorry to cut you off, but we have all this time to come up with stuff. And when you give people that time in that format where they've got time to breathe and test these older parts and they can see it's rewarded, they get down and they test it. And you get so much more information.
Yeah, that is dope. And I like what you said too. And because as soon as I saw it, and I immediately saw it as something that transcends beyond burst. It could be within every generation, and it's something that's simple and easy. Like, we can still run our formats 3v3, pick 3, choose 1, 1v1, whatever. And it doesn't divide the masses, but whoever prefers one way, you're good. And you want to play with everything you spent your money on, you're good. Of course there's still going to be complaints. We're like, oh, I think we need to do this, I think we need to do that. That's always going to be there. But this is a blanket of just overall happiness. That's the way I saw it. So kudos to you both. Yeah.
According to the poll, a lot of people think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty
yeah.
big. The one thing I worry about is when I make a thread, people don't like voting no.
Yeah.
I've been told some people just don't like to vote, but like the number, you don't get like a 40. What was it like last? I looked like 40-2.
Yeah.
But there's no effect that explains that. Like it's something people want on both sides of the spectrum. Like Shindog and I are like, we constantly butt heads about rebounds and BDR, and he was one of the biggest contributors to some of the more nitty gritty stuff that I did, that I worked into the proposal. Like he was a huge contributor, and so a big credit to him. There's other people I mentioned with it as well. It was something that was like approved or like come up with by people on both sides of the aisle. Sort of, which is really rare. So I think that goes to show just how strong of an idea Christ has had here.
I think even without thinking about it, like, and when I brought up the transcending, even if your argument was WBO versus WBA, you still have the community and what we can do, because that's what we control 100% with the limited format. And like that is WBO. If you wanted to split it that way, and then WBBA is the unlimited, and maybe
that's
all
sort
the
of, I ended up
events.
terming it like standard. I termed it standard because that's what we currently call WBO standard. Like standard, and you're unlimited. And yeah, I think it's just such a good way to do things.
Yeah, at 100%. I feel like at 100%.
At the end of the day, I don't even care what the name of it is.
Yeah, I don't
exactly.
either. It's like this is how we'll play it. Yeah.
I'm marketing for a reason, though.
I do want to ask on what standpoint, because when it first came out, I was like, and when I first saw the idea, I was like, heck yeah, we could play whatever we want to play and this and that. But as I looked at it from the competitive viewpoint, I was like, man, some of these bands might look pretty nice as far as creativity and this and that. Like, what side are y'all personally leaning on as what you may play more?
Oh, standard, absolutely.
Standard. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would do an unlimited tournament every now and then. I'm sure there'd be demand. Like, if this comes out, like, I haven't hosted in a bit. I've been busy. Like, I got married and various other things since, moved houses, changed jobs.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's been like 6 months. Oh, thanks. It's been like 6 months since I hosted. But like, if we can get this through, I'll be hosting again and a lot more regularly, because right now, I'm not that interested in the format. I'd rather play Metal Fight, and I don't have Metal Fight players here, and I don't have enough to lend enough to make the tournament happen or get the people out for it. So for me, it'd definitely be standard, because I've got a lot of young players and players with worst part. Like, it's a pretty nascent sort of scene. So definitely standard is going to go over better here. And so I'm going to lean towards what my players are more likely to like. The same reason I don't host DB, all my players hate it. Like, vocally. I was like, do you guys do DB? And they're just like, no. I have one. I hate it. I was like, okay, then no complaints. That's fine. I bought one, but all right. I tried to learn a bit about it, but I guess not.
Yeah, we have to cater to the communities. I've definitely found that out. Yeah, 100%. How you feel, Mike? Which one would you lean towards?
So, I mean, honestly, I'd probably end up doing like, I would just probably rotate each month on which one I do for the most part, just because like I'm a big like competitive player, and testing and stuff is a big thing of mine. And I find testing to be better when you're testing in an actual tournament rather than just by yourself. Yes, it helps a lot. Like, every time I have a tournament, that's also me testing. Like, if I see something is not performing the way I want it to, like, instantly as soon as I get home, I'm back at the drawing board on what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I would want to be involved in both formats as much as possible, so I can see like what's problematic, what's not problematic, that kind of stuff. So I would probably just flip flop doing both. And I know in my area, we just had our first WBBA tournament. Everyone liked it. Everyone liked the 5G. Everyone liked how it worked. Even though most of us don't like the DB Stadium, we were okay with it.
Yeah.
So
it works. It works.
Right. It works for that format. That's one of the big things too. That format, the way it plays, and the way how things work. Like, matches we got done that entire tournament of 22 people in like only 3 hours.
Man,
Jeez.
y'all did finals?
You're an efficient organizer, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Y'all did finals 5G as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause we did it the way BBA does it just so that way that, like I said, that whole tournament was mostly so TSO could test, so she could go enjoy herself in Japan and play in a tournament.
Solid. Shout out to you. So I didn't know she was going over there. Safe travels to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, go enjoy that. Yeah, that's I was thinking about that as I um was hosting. I guess it's not gonna be my decision. I think it's gonna be my community's decision on essentially what they want to play. I'll ask them that tomorrow because that's another benefit, like I was saying before, Mike, like hosting these monthly tournaments and really getting to see what my local community wants or just like a single community. And no shade to traveling, like I was having a lot of fun, but when I get to know what my consistent locals like really want to play and really want to do, and then I can cater to that, and that'll be what it is, and then we'll follow the rules of standard or we'll follow the rules of unlimited. However it goes, I think that'll be beneficial.
Yeah, because that's another thing too. Like, with Beyblade X so far, from what we understand, the stadium is a little wonky,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure how that's going to make things work. So the the limited format, at least worst case scenario, would be like, hey, yes, you can still use the whatever the stadium's called for Beyblade X, but you could also just use a burst standard stadium or something instead because we find it to be a little more balanced or whatever.
Yeah. How do you feel like it's wonky?
Well, from what we understand, the ridge curves in to go
It's like
into
a
the
peanut
center.
shape.
Yeah.
It's like a what shape?
Like a peanut shape.
Oh, a
So,
peanut. Oh,
Yeah.
like one of the like the Hasbro type stadiums.
Yeah, yeah. So there's weird sort of like guides that run Beyblades through the middle, but often just don't work that well.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's got a shroud as well. I'm hoping they at least get the pockets like done right on it, like the
Hmm.
walls. If they can at least do the DB wall design, then that'll be something. But it's so hard to judge a stadium by the pictures. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
like,
Not,
like, try and judge the Dash Stadium by pictures. Try and figure out what the heck is going on there
oh
and how
yeah.
that's going to perform. That thing
Yeah.
is baffling. I still think we should legalize it, but that thing's baffling.
I
Is it?
actually like the Dash Stadium a lot.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
it's
it's
fun.
fun.
It's so
Yeah.
good. We should absolutely legalize. But I mean, I'm also, like you said, you're happy with people. You'd be happy if people played in a walk. Shin said the same, and I'm also in that basket. I just want people to play Beyblade.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll definitely see what happens at that stadium and how we approach that. But I definitely think going forward, I've shifted a lot on how I feel about DB. Obviously, at first I was initially very opposed, but I think in the end, Christ was sort of right about how it played out. And yeah, I think we do need to keep up to date with the latest stadiums as well, and just to provide more options.
Yeah.
And
I,
so, like, no matter how bad the stadium is, we're going to have to work with it.
yeah. I think when I look at it and I think I see the WBO as I always see it split with like two generations. You have the new players that come in, and then you have the members that have been part of the organization
Mm.
either from its foundation or for several years. And like I talked about with the change is always tough and it's always
Mm.
hard. But if we don't adapt to those changes or adapt to the new things, like because the kids now they have no clue on the older systems or anything like that. They got involved in Beyblade from the anime or commercial they see with their friends, and the first thing they're going to do is going to run the target and they're going to try to get a tournament.
Yep.
In their local area. And if we as a community wanted to cater to that, that's when we have to stay up to date. And then once we get them into the door of DB or Super King, whenever they were coming in,
Mm.
then it could be like, well, hey, there's this whole other opportunity for all these other different formats and all these other different systems. And then we can get them hooked. But we have to have that initial, um,
Exactly.
yeah, most up to date thing. But
And for me,
go ahead. Yeah.
so for me, a big thing that like recently we redid Hasbro only. I pushed that really hard to make Hasbro only not like just be Pro Series as well.
Hmm.
To make it as accessible as possible. So there's actually things where people who go out and just can only get the basics because that's all their parents aren't going to spend. Basically, here it's like 45 to 50 Australian dollars on a
Yeah.
Beyblade, which is bonkers,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely bonkers. Um, so that format's there now, that clause is there now to give us the option to do that. Same with legalizing the Hasbro Pro Series Stadium. I thought that was super important.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see the sort of Hasbro stadiums in general legalized in their own way as well, because like we got to get kids in. Like as you're saying, we got to get these kids in the door, and they've got to be able to, you can't have them, they'll play in their stadium that they've bought and it's a licensed program, but no, that doesn't count.
Yeah,
That doesn't count. Like what image is that?
Yeah, that was one of my biggest things when I had made that proposal back then with the DB Stadium was I wanted to make it so that way then stuff is more accessible for newer players so they get hooked on the game.
Yeah, because the standard stadium, it got it became super expensive and also like super hard to get, and especially like an authentic one because the car told me stopped making them like a while ago, and me with the story, me like trying to find it, like sometimes you will find them, but they were like damaged. Like I know my wholesaler even like they had some up for a little bit, and then they took them off the site, and when I asked about it, they were like they had to donate it to charity just because they had I guess they were stuck in a warehouse for so long and they just warped depending on where they were
Oh,
at. So it
man.
was yeah, they were just really hard to get, and things like that happen. But yeah, I will say even when you talk about the money prices, before I was heavily involved in Beyblade, I was a parent too. It's not a matter of being cheap or whatever. It's like, you're gonna get your kids toys, but I expect to spend a whole lot of money on like video games. I don't
Yeah,
expect really to spend a lot of money on
exactly.
these Beyblades. Because I mean, with my son, the reason why I didn't get him for a while when he was young, I got him some Beyblades and they burst. He lost all the parts, so you feel like you waste money as a parent.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, I got this. I think it was the Strike Force Stadium because it was on sale for like one of our Black Friday weekends.
Mm.
And then that's what kind of got us hooked and got us involved. And it's like one thing leads to another. But had I not been able to afford something right at that time, because I don't think anyone would jump into the game like a dad would jump into the game without knowing anything, dad or mom,
Mm.
and go and spend like $70 or so on the standard stadium just because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of outrageous. But
Yeah, no, we get a lot of like new players that show up with their parents and they have just like the regular little Hasbro stuff. So a good amount of times too, they have the fakes from Amazon.
yeah,
That's always
Yeah. Yeah.
that's always a thing. But then we'll normally end up having a long conversation with the parents and explaining it to them, like there's this, there's
Yeah.
Hasbro, there's the Karatomi, and then there's Amazon fakes. We explain to them the Amazon fakes potentially can have lead in them, so avoid them as much as possible.
hmm
Um,
hmm
but then like once we explain it to them, like we've had a couple parents where the kids are really into it, where they're like, this is what I want to do, and I tell you, there was this one kid. He came in. He had a bunch of fake parts and just Hasbro. We explained everything to the dad. Like a month later, he came back and he was like, "Yeah, I spent like $700 to get him all this stuff." And I'm like, what?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god, dude.
Well,
It was.
it's
He was just
yeah,
like he wanted to play and he wants to be competitive. So we got everything
Oh
that was
my
the
god.
latest stuff.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the gateway because once you get your kid these things and then you take them to that tournament or you see that there's a community out there, it's like it makes it limitless. So it's like, yeah, you might go with fake parts and might only want to spend like a couple of dollars, but when you see your kid like losing, you know what I'm saying? It kind of like
Mm.
it kind of hits. It hits as a parent, even if you're not wanting to get in Beyblade or compete yourself. You're like, no, my son isn't about to lose, or my daughter's not about to lose all these matches. Like, we'll come back. I'll even learn about this so I can do some testing with you, and then we'll see how it goes. And yeah, that's exactly like I'm more hyped for my son to win than I am
Mm.
for me to win right now. And a lot of my testing that comes in with him and is trying to help him, but he's a teenager now and he wants to do his own thing. So
Mm.
he's like, yeah. But I wanted to go back to the stadium. You said the Peanut Stadium, 4 pockets. I haven't seen a picture of it. To me, it's really sounding like a bigger Pro Series with those concave. I mean, with those angle ridges, so to go to the center. Is that what y'all are thinking too, or am I way off the mark on that?
Have you seen the Hasbro what is that stadium called where it's got like the 4 layers to it?
Um,
That from Quad Drive, that orange stadium. Then it's got like the little thing inside of it that you
uh-huh,
Oh
can
yeah, yeah, yeah.
take out or put in, and
uh-huh.
it
Yep.
gives that thing where it can turn and send them into the center.
Yeah.
Basically, it has that thing that curves it into the center along the circle ridge that it has.
Okay.
So imagine the circle ridge of the standard stadium, but instead, like halfway through, it curves towards the center.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really weird. And to be fair, the only picture that currently exists is a render of it. It's not a picture of the actual stadium. So in my brain, that could also just be like, this is where we're at. But last minute, Takara Tomy could be like, nope, you know what? We don't like how it ends up performing. We're gonna do this.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Or it could be
So,
something that initially releases and well, yeah, I was going to say the
well,
same
yeah,
thing as you said. Yeah.
Well, I've said that too. They could come out with it, and then a year later, they're like, okay, that didn't work. Here's a new standard stadium, and this is how it's gonna be.
I mean, the first plastic stadiums are like the best stadium. I mean, ever released, but the best stadium for plastics came out in the third year or of the series. Metal Fight's first stadium, I think, was really bad as well. I don't think the BB10 was the first one. I think it was this weird stamina thing, which is also really bad. So, like, it's not like they don't have time to do something better as well.
Yeah.
It just all depends on the players, and are you able to deal with this until they decide to make something better?
Maybe it'll
Yeah.
just end up being good. Maybe it'll actually work.
Yeah,
Like we don't,
that's what I'm
it's gonna
hoping
be so hard to
for.
tell until it's in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for. Like it's I think I can't speak for everyone, but at least for myself, as long as it seems balanced to where there's some competitive skill to it and we're
Yeah.
not just throwing the Beyblades into the center of a stadium and hoping for the best, because that does take the competitive edge out of it. That does in some ways even take the testing or the thinking, really. You're just going in there and you're just hoping for the best. It's like that's not
Yeah.
enjoyable, I think, too, for the competitive demographic. It'll be great for like kids sleepovers and just want to have fun and stuff like that, but to
Mm.
actually have a legitimate organized play system, that would not be fun.
Yeah, you see that with a lot of the hardware stuff, like Quad Strike sort of feels like Hypersphere actually ended up being pretty competitive. There's a workable like competitive format with technique and stuff there. But
Mhm.
like you see that with a lot of the hardware ones, it's just like, maybe I hit this a bit harder and I burst first, but there's not a lot of rhyme and reason to what happens.
Yeah.
But as long like for me, honestly, for like rank stuff, I think as long as it's like fair to everyone involved, like it's as long as it's reasonable, like so it's saying it passes like this isn't like a joke test,
Hmm. Hmm.
and as long as then it's just fair to everyone, like it's equitable, it's fair. No one's obviously like trying to take advantage of it for rank or anything. I'm fine to rank basically anything as a test of skill, under whatever conditions you agree to test your skill under. So for me, like I'm excited to see the stadium. I suspect, look, my gut says probably not good because I haven't seen a good execution of those guide things in in any series of Beyblade. It's never come out well, but we'll see. Hope for the best. I mean, there's always been other issues where the guides have been where the rest of the stadiums had either dodgy design, like there's one with guides in Metal Fight called the Super Attack Stadium. It's always notoriously like there when you're searching for an attack stadium,
Hmm.
and it has guides that could maybe work, except it's got this flat center, so you never hit anything.
Yeah.
So there's every chance it could just be a good stadium, and that's what I'm holding out for. But even if it isn't, we're still gonna have to work with it.
Right. Because I mean, we're not going to
Yeah.
have anything else that we can use at the
Yeah.
start of the series, so
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
just we're stuck with it.
Yeah. Man, I definitely forgot what I was. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say it's great to have you up here for playing through the various series because I've seen what Beyblade there's trends, and sometimes I have
Yeah.
wishful thinking. But like you said, like with the guides and stuff like that, it's like, dude, it's never worked in the past. It's something that they will push out because sometimes like we have the hopes, like man, we're hoping for the best, but we kind of know. And
Mm.
I've learned that from talking to a lot of the old school players. Like BDR is something new to us and Burst, but it's not anything new to like you or people that have
Mm.
played like because you've gone through metas. with things like this
Yeah,
before, that specific part, like you said, and was it
yeah.
in just normal metal fight? I can't remember the part that you said, but
Rubber
um,
defense flat. That's still legal though. But that's been contentious for years
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Like it's always been contentious. Possibly the best example though is F230 plus circle flat or gear circle flat, in 0G, which was banned.
Hmm.
That I think is probably kind of similar to BDR and did end up banned. BDR isn't anything new, and it's something that probably deserves to be dealt with, and it's something we probably would deal with if it weren't a standard format. I'm pretty sure that if BDR was like this in GT specifically, we would probably take it out back.
Yeah. Yeah, solid, 100%. Hopping into, we got into the stadium. Like, what are some of your hopes or ideas for the new generation? Are you hype about it? Because I know you like the older formats, but like as it's progressing and things, have any of your ideas change on new and improved, or some things you want to see?
Me or
No, I think.
think? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought you said
I
Mike.
thought you
Sorry.
about.
Yeah.
No, no,
No,
no,
no.
no, no. My bad, my bad, my
No,
bad.
no, I hear you.
I
No,
hear
no,
Mike
no.
almost every other week, and yeah.
Oh
So
no, no, no. In
yeah.
terms of what I want to see, yeah, I'm still excited. Like I'm gonna play Beyblade, even if I think the generation sucks, I'm gonna play Beyblade. I play every single format except heavy metal system because I can't afford it.
Mm,
Just because the rubber flat riding core tabs tend to break a bit. Um, but like for me, it's a whole new generation to play, a whole new set of things to play around with, and a whole new system, which I always really like exploring. I loved getting into Burst.
mhm.
Um, even if it's not my favorite generation, um, there's 6 years of it though. It's hard to look at it as a single generation.
Yeah.
Getting into it was a ton of fun. Very expensive, but a ton of fun. So I'm
Uh-huh.
just excited to get into something new. I'm hoping. Um, I guess I'm hoping that the stadium's the one thing that gets me. I really hope that we just get lucky and it does turn out well. Um, or that there's something to the gimmick that really makes it work. I'm hoping we get more customization as well, so there's more things to test. That's why I love plastics. It's because there's can be like 13 parts to a Beyblade,
Yeah.
maybe more. I forget what the maximum count was, but I know 13 is within the realm of like number of parts that can be in a combo. I hope we get a lot more to play around with and a lot more sort of customization and modularity, so it can be a
Mhm.
bit more of a technical game. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I just hope it's successful because often I have some fears that it'll end up like HMS or Zero G, where it lasts for one season, or in Zero G's case, about 80% of a season, which was pretty grim. I'm hoping it survives. I'm hoping it's good enough to actually keep Beyblade going.
Yeah. There's some I agree with you, and I am 100% hoping for the best. There's some thoughts that I've had, and I got some questions. I know we shout out his show a lot. This question with both of y'all. With those numbers that came up with Takara Tomy, as far as the shipments for
Mm,
plastics, metals, and burst. I
mm.
just saw topics on it, and I originally saw it from Zenki. Where did that come from, or why was that a thing? Why was that a big thing? And I have a
Coro
point to
Coro
this.
Coro. It
Coral
came from
Coral.
it came from the recent Coro Coro.
But what was there a reason why they put it in there, or they were just shouting it out?
Honestly, I don't know.
No, I'm not sure actually. I saw a bit of the discussion on it, but I didn't get like super involved because, like, I mean, sales figures are for business.
Yeah, and the only reason why I say that is because I did have an idea, and this is just me possibly
Mm,
overthinking. Um, I do know Metal Fight is extremely popular, and this isn't
mm,
about the money or the revenue, but it's just showing the popularity, and even with Burst within the 6 years, and it's the I won't say the compatibility of the systems, but if they did
mm,
anything to where it incorporated Burst and Metal Fight to
mm,
where the design of the base were possibly more similar to Metal Fight, but they had some of the Burst gimmicks. And I've been thinking about that so heavy because it's like, why would they like? What was the whole purpose or point of them putting up the amount of shipments or anything to show the popularity? Maybe it was to spark a conversation, maybe it was a preview to be like, hey, we know what you guys loved, or we think we know what you guys love, so we're gonna try to do something to cater to that. It was just a thought, and then I thought about it heavily on Beyblade X because it's a super big build up for it. It's only been like a it'll be like what, like a 7 month hiatus before the
Yeah.
new yeah, and 7 months isn't really a hiatus compared to what was 4 years between Metal Fight and Burst, right? Or something like that. And
Yeah, the other hiatus has been a lot longer.
yeah,
Classics to Metal Fight was long enough for me to go through basically high school. So
yeah, that's wild. So to have something that's like less than a year now, and almost like a half a year. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that really heavily. As far as the design of these bays and what they're gonna look like, and if something like that was to happen, like how much would that intrigue y'all to where it was like the design of like Metal Fight, but maybe had some unique gimmicks or bursts because they said it's not going to burst the same, and I don't really understand what that means either. Um,
I don't know, I don't love Metal Fight designs. They're too round for me.
oh, okay.
One thing I will note though is that you see very little coverage of Zero G in all this promotion they're doing. Like they list all the protagonists. They didn't list Zyro from Zero G.
Mhm.
Or Zero. I don't know the anime very well. But it was pointed out that he's basically not been mentioned, so they're basically trying to forget it. So
Yeah.
maybe there is some sort of intent. I mean that's pretty standard business. You don't own up to your loss, your failures.
Mhm.
I get that's very very business, but like so I think there's something to all the promotion. I assume they're going to work things in. The little thing I got, it did look like they were trying to mix in certain elements. I think I don't like saying things that I think I saw in things because I don't want to go out there, but I thought I saw something that looked like a bit chip like design in the center on it.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it looked like the round sort of more detailed bit chip design. So it could be that they're taking that from other systems. Um, not sure about the design shadow we saw was interesting. It looked like one of the more MFB looking burst releases, sort
Mhm.
of.
Mhm.
One of those sort of simple ones. It looked like a bit like Galaxy mixed with like a Valkyrie.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of similarities between those two lines in general, I think. So I definitely think they're going to be aiming to market it as a combination of all these systems. I'm most curious to see what they take from plastics, but I think a lot of people say they want metal contact points back. It's going to depend how that goes down with parents and safety. I think how much they can do with that metal, with a sort of metal design again.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like one of the things with it is I I can see them taking elements from each. Oh man. I don't know what element from Metal Fight they would exactly take unless it's the metal contacts. Obviously they're taking the burst mechanic. The only thing I can think of that they could
Ooh.
take from plastics really would be rotation changing. Like every bay can be either spin direction.
Yeah, the full on HMS. Actually, what they could take from MFP that I'd really like is height adjustment.
I would
That would be
love
Yeah.
to see that.
lovely. That is such a
Yeah.
good mechanic. It's such
Yeah.
a good mechanic.
I
It
just
adds so
I,
much to the game.
I don't know how you do that and incorporate burst. I mean, I had like this random idea a few months ago. I was talking to Kirito about it, where basically you had spin tracks, but with the springs in them
Yeah.
for the burst gimmick. But the one thing that I did tell him though that I would want, however they did like if they did a teeth mechanic, like we're just going based off of
Oh,
what we know.
God, yeah.
If they had did a teeth mechanic, I would never want any of the chips to have different teeth. I want it all the same because I
Mhm.
want to be
Yep.
able to use whatever chip I want. I don't want to be
Yep.
like, hey, I have to use this chip because it has better burst resistance, or I have to use this chip because it's got more weight to it. I don't like that. That like they literally took
Yeah.
the fantasy element out of the game. And I
It's like,
come
Yeah.
from
sparking,
yeah,
where they
Yeah.
just randomly made some just have worse burst resistance. Like some of them,
yeah,
you just get one less click for using this one. Why? It's literally no different. It's a piece of it doesn't make a difference.
Mhm.
right.
Why did you just remove a click from it? Like why is long and it's just randomly worse and it's literally just a worse Fafnir? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me use the cooler dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, like
can.
that is definitely one thing I think the game in bursts lost. It lost the fantasy element.
It really did.
Yeah.
There's no
You
personal
you
touch.
you talking about as far as that unique identity with like using your specific bit beast, your specific chip or whatever.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, I originated with plastics, and
Yeah.
watching the anime and everything, and Kai and Dronzer, that they were my boys.
Hmm.
If I played
That tracks.
plastics, if I played anything in plastic, I threw a Dronzer bit chip in it.
Hmm.
I can't
Hmm.
do that
Yeah.
now. I can't play Phoenix.
Exactly.
I want to play Phoenix, but I can't.
I
Yeah,
know, man. I tried so hard to get that chip to work, that core to work.
yeah.
I almost did too.
In Sparking, didn't, with the exception of like Spriggan and I
Diabolos.
can't remember. Yeah, Spriggan, Diabolos, and was Solomon was in there too, right?
For metal?
Yeah, those were like the only like differences because most of those chips didn't have the teeth on them, right?
No, the chips
They
had
had little bits that reduced the burst resistance in some cases. Like they
yeah.
had little stoppers that blocked one of the teeth.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really
okay.
weird. Like no reason for it.
Yeah.
Um,
It was pretty bad.
yeah.
Um, and then you had Lucifer and Lucifer 2. They both had metal, and Lucifer 2 had the rubber
The
burst
rubber.
stopper, or
Okay.
burst resistor, not stopper.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that aspect. But yeah, it got me thinking how they or what they were getting at because I've saw Zenki talk about it. I've seen it on the WBO. And I've seen like most of the argument being on how much they sold and which one sold the most and which one was more popular. But I was more thinking like, why did they even release that information?
Yeah, it's an odd
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I know it's not to be like it's not like they're TT or Corco is gonna get up there and brag, be like, look how many Beyblades we sold, guys. This is incredible. Like, no, it has to be for a reason. And they showed it specifically, like, hey, MFB, it's not talking about the profit or anything like that. It's like, look, this sold the most. Like, and we see that. Y'all see it and we
Mm,
saw it, like we know it. So it was
possible.
something interesting. And as far as hopefully with safety, they're going to think about that, especially with them talking about TT being something global, like going global now. They could make these bays smaller. They don't have to be the size
Mm,
of DB bays.
they
We don't have to
don't.
have a wind, fully metal wind. That,
Yep.
like, think about something like that size, like half a
Give me
pound.
HMS size. Give me
Yeah.
like heavy system size. The plastics weight range is still perfect. Classic is a really good format for weight range. Once you get over 50 or so grams, stuff starts the defense and stamina start getting really messy, and defense sort of starts fading.
Mhm.
Like that actually, now you mentioned, is probably the big thing I'm hoping for, is that they just keep things in a sensible weight range where A, they can do it, and B, Hasbro can produce it, or maybe just keep out of it. But like where we can get a quality product from both brands, and the format isn't so heavy and clumsy. Launches don't have to be overbuilt, so costs can stay down. I really hope they go somewhere like that too. I think it's a really good point.
The only thing about, like, I agree. I think it would be nice if they just like one thing I don't want I don't want Beyblade X to start at one size and then get to an unreal size, like bursted.
Mm,
Like
Yeah.
that's where, like, personally, I think like the GT size is like a
yeah.
really good size Beyblade, and I just kind of wish that they would just start there and never change the size.
Mm,
Because like most of Metal Fight, everything is relatively the same size until like you get to a certain point.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
even then, like, they're not much bigger. It's not like, if you hold a
Yeah.
classic, single layer or dual layer Beyblade up to a dynamite layer, you're like, that thing
Yeah.
like tripled in size, man.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
Metal Fight, when you get into, I think it's like 4D or whatever, they only get a smidge bigger. It's not a huge, I mean, it makes a difference in weight, but they're not
Mm.
like super bigger.
Mhm.
Yeah, they get denser, but not like they get a lot denser and thicker, but like actual overall size doesn't change that much. They just get denser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely like 100% because there's no way you're taking any of the like single layers or dual layers and competing with a
Mm,
DB Beyblade in any
No.
time. Um,
exactly.
they're just it's just way out the mark. But I mean, I get it. I know they want to have the upgrades and things getting
Yeah.
bigger, but that consistency would be great. And I am on board with you. Mike, as far as like the size of, honestly, I think I like the size
Mm.
of the Chose bays more, but that might also be because of the simplicity with the Chose, because that's when it was just like a layer, a disc, and a driver. Um, and I really like that versus
I mean, GT bays aren't much bigger than Cho Z bays,
they
so
they aren't. I think I was only thinking in the sense of like
sparking is
because
when they take like the big leap in size.
Yeah.
yeah, Hollow was pretty thick, Solomon was pretty thick. Um,
Tempest is pretty big.
Mm.
oh yeah, Tempest. My bad. I'm used to Tempest Solomon. I didn't know. Yeah, Tempest was pretty thick. I think the only thick or big boy that I was really thinking about it now was Imperial with as far as
Mm.
GT went, but I didn't ever like using that because it would burst no matter what I put it with. It was too thick.
It was the mold.
Yeah.
Yeah, they raised the teeth in that mold. It's so silly, but the second mold's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the black one that came out in that random booster.
Um Solid. Sorry. I wanted
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Did y'all have anything on Beyblade X? I know we talk about it every week, but it's like the hottest topic.
It is the hottest topic. No, I'm just hoping it's sensible. Like plastics was 3 years without power creep. Like everything in plastics is legal. Some things weren't meant to be legal are legal at this point because they just add to the game.
Hmm.
Um, like we had 3 years of it being legal and it still sold pretty well. Metal Fight sold great before the power creep, and if anything, the power creep might have hurt it. Um, so I hope they go in with a sensible weight range, a sensible size, nice varied design, and then just keep producing competitive and unique releases that do cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Like, I'd rather them like show power creep with like shapes and gimmicks rather than size.
Yeah.
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 Give me the plastics competitive combo list, which has like 10 different, not even that, like 10, 15 different types of combos on it that are all balanced.
Hmm.
Like, give me cool gimmicks that do really weird stuff that work.
Hmm.
Right.
Something they could do, and I highly doubt it because I'm only thinking of it in the terms of here, within the US, is spreading out the releases more. Like if they dropped like all these bays, and because that's one of the big difference between Beyblade and like TCGs. You get so many TCGs out because it's a whole lot easier to print a card. But when you get a new release of a Beyblade, it's a single release, but it may be meta changing or it may not. And if it is meta changing, it's something that everyone just sticks to. But spreading out those releases, like if you went like a couple months, 2 or 3 months, it gives people a little bit more time. It also keeps them interested in the game because when we like month after month after month, I started noticing myself getting hype for the new best thing like all the time instead of using what I had. But the reason why I said it's only particular here because we only run our tournaments maybe like once a month versus them that are having once every week. So they're going like probably to 6 or 7 different tournaments and they probably want to get something new.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
that's true.
you're talking over in Japan.
yeah, in Japan and
It'll
Asia,
be
because if
BBA. Yeah.
something comes out, we'll say today, and then next month, which may seem quick to us, but they would have had a tournament. That's what like 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So that's
and
five different tournaments.
well, for them too, like different locals could have tournaments on different days, so they could have 3 a week they go to. You know,
Yeah,
3 times 4. They've done had 12 tournaments they've been to with BDR. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We always got to think about that, like with the regions, because I know it's like I know I want certain things and would like certain things to be away, but I got to think about it in the grand scheme of things.
yeah. I've thought about working it out with the local card shop here about seeing if they might want to try to do weekly tournaments and see how that works out.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like that means I have to go and organize them every week, and I don't know if I can dedicate it every
Yeah.
week.
That's my thing. That's why I'm only off on two weekends a month, and one weekend I need for my family. I've done the whole like every weekend I'm off. Either I'm attending a tournament or hosting one, and that was making my wife hate Beyblade. So I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure y'all know y'all both married. It's like happy wife, happy life. So I can enjoy my hobbies without destroying my family life.
Yep,
So
exactly.
Yeah, 100%. I wanted to I know we're on X, but I wanted to get your thoughts, and it was off topic on our ranking system thing. You've been a part of the community for a
Mm,
long time,
yeah.
and any of these questions, only what you feel comfortable or want to talk about. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to come out of left field or whatever. But how do you feel about the ranking system?
It has problems. There are a lot of different ways to approach it. I think we get nowhere on discussions about it because people have very different takes on what it should mean.
Hmm.
Um, it is sort of odd. I was surprised when I came back that Burst was a separate ranking system. I always
Yeah.
considered Bay rank to be Bay rank,
Hmm.
not Bay rank Battle Fight, Bay rank Burst. Ideally, for me, we have one ranking system, and then you can filter the data if you want that data, which is obviously a bit of a programming exercise. I think to some degree, maybe there are things where the system allows people to accumulate points and then rewards them just not playing anymore to keep those points, which, to be fair, is its own punishment. Not getting to Beyblade because you're scared of losing points is a little bit sad.
Hmm.
But B, like that's like that surely that isn't something that anyone really wants to do.
Yeah.
But there's a degree to which the system should avoid that. So maybe some sort of decay would be good. But I think at the moment it's more about coming to an agreement on what it means before we can actually set about how to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, and that is a unique aspect because I know I've always been an advocate. And I'm not gonna speak for you, Mike. I'll let you give your, I'll let you speak on your own, Mike. But I know at one point in time, I had always looked at it differently, and I think I was looking at it compared to other games. It's like even within Burst, we have Classic, Limited, Burst,
Mm,
and then the various formats and things like that. So it's interesting to hear on keeping it all the same because what I thought about when I was doing the Challenger, and I kind of opened it up because to
mm.
doing more than just one format or one style of play.
Yeah,
Because Beyblade, at the end of the day, it kind of is Beyblade.
it is.
Um, and when you like from talking to you, talking to TSO, even like Mike, um, I say even
Mm,
Mike, like you're insignificant. I'm sorry, Mike, you
You're
are
good.
significant. But like talking to you all and seeing throughout the various generations like we talk about BDR and that same problem coming around, or we talk about rubber flats. Like rubber flats are rubber flats.
yeah,
You they're designed to do a specific thing within the stadium. They are for attack, and you can look at a driver. Like I kid everyone on the show right now, like the three of us or any competitive blader, if we really won't know how it 100% performs until we test it. But if Takar told me was to release a photo of three different Beyblades right now, we will and didn't give us any information about it, we could be able to tell exactly what they're designed for and what they may be able to do in the
yeah.
stadium. And when you take that knowledge or that skill set back through the various generations and you incorporate that, I think in just competitive play and think about that in ranked. So I can understand and see what you're saying. I understand the other point too, where it's like if I'm playing this format, I wanna have the rank for it. But I see both sides, and that's pretty interesting. Yeah. How'd you feel, Mike?
I mean, I don't know the ranking system entirely. Like Think said, it's got so many flaws to it.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't even know where to truly begin with it. I guess the real question that needs to be figured out is what does the ranking like? What matters for ranking?
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I think was yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like you know, is playing in the BB10 for Metal Fight what matters, or is playing in the Burst Standard Stadium what matters instead of the DB? Like some people want it to be really standardized
Mm.
on the ranking system, but then it's like that can like Beyblade's not big enough for that right now.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
It's really hard too because like I come from competitive Yu-Gi-Oh where
Yeah,
I go we go to local tournaments every week, so I would see okay, Beyblade's once a month, but when you get to the tournament, you kind of forget that it's once a month, and you just see the amount of players. And initially, it looks like because I've got 22 players playing,
mm,
where at my locals for Yu-Gi-Oh, I might only have 16 people showing up. But then you realize that's 16 people every week. compared
Yeah.
to 22 players a month. And
Yeah.
it's not this. It's only like the same 8 people that show up monthly.
Yeah.
So if it would be the same 8 people weekly, then you're only getting 8 people playing a week compared to 16 people a week in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that just shows you how big the game actually is in
Yeah.
comparison. And when I was first getting into it, it was hard to separate the two.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because I'm just so used to Yu-Gi-Oh and how things go, and then here I am at a tournament. I just see a bunch of people. I'm like, wow, there's a bunch of people at a tournament. I don't see this much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things definitely that with the ranking system in general, um, it it matters more to people than I think other people realize, because there's a lot of people that'll be like, the rank doesn't matter, the rank doesn't matter.
Hmm.
You're
No, it
right, and
matters.
you're wrong. It doesn't
Yeah.
Exactly.
matter in the sense of it's just pixels on a website. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
But what the ranking system does is it tracks your progression.
Yeah.
People look at this to track their progression. Even players that are like number 148, if after the next tournament they're 147, they're happy. They
That's
went
Hmm.
about
up
where
a
I
rank.
am.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
like I said, I literally give myself a goal on the ranking system every
Hmm.
time. Like,
Yeah.
my goal has always been what I call an achievable goal, where I look at the next person and I'm like, okay, I think I want to try to get higher than this person, and I work to get there. Like right now, I want to get higher than Henwuja, because then that'll make me number 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
S-
like
s-
I use the ranking system as a personal thing, not as a overall I'm better than you guys. It just
Yeah.
shows me I have gotten better than where I was previously.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we
I
were
think.
founded around the rank system. I mean, well, the wiki and the rank system. That was our big thing. It's what we built up as a community, was having that rank system, and more people attend ranked events.
Yes.
They do.
It's clearly a thing people want. Like we can't say, oh, we should get rid of it, because it's what people want. It makes them show up. But yeah, there's a lot to be said. A lot of discussion to be had about the perspective, and I think even internally as staff, I think a lot of us, not to speak for any of my colleagues, but I think a lot of us deep down know that it's a discussion that we need to have, not just with ourselves, but with the community as well.
Yeah. I think what you said about the ranking and the way that we split it and how it shouldn't be split, that really it does get my wheels turned. The more I'm involved with Beyblade, the more I see it as its own game and its own
Mm.
sport, versus the other ways that they have done it. But I will say, Mike, when you talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, and we've talked about this before, and I'm kind of stealing your proposal idea on the two ways. But if we had just like a standard universal ranking, and it goes on forever, and just shows your commitment to the game, how long you played, how long you stayed consistent. And then we have another one, if there was another one, just for the season. Because the thing with
Yeah.
when you have that universal one, if someone did want to climb up and, like, say for instance me, if I'm joining my local community now, and every week if I was going to a tournament and winning it, I probably would have a very hard time to beat the top
Mm.
player if they've been playing for the last 5 years. But if it was within a season, at least I can get that accomplishment just for the season, and I can
Yeah.
just stay consistent. So it reflects on my universal ranking to show, like, hey, I've been doing this for about 2 years. There's no way I'll ever reach a top, but at least it shows I've been consistent. And then for the seasonal ranking, um, I have that, and just splitting it, like, I guess the unlimited and the
Seasons
standard.
would be
So
great.
you said what?
I think seasons would be a really, really good thing as well. I really agree on
Yeah.
that one.
I think seasons, or like an annual reset, like once a year, is like the big key thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because with this game, there are so many bladers coming into it that you've never seen before that just blow you out of the water.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
but with the current ranking system, you won't see them make a difference for, like, like, unless you're in a very high-ranked, well-established area like Maryland or Canada,
Yeah.
you will not see these names pop up. Like Zector, I mean, he's been playing for like 2 or 3 years, and he only just now hit page 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way I could make like top 10 ever. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Yo, yeah. 'Cause
unless
you're
I
by
go on a
yourself,
long
right?
stay in the US. Yeah, it's just us. It's just like
Yeah.
I've got a very small scene, and we're all at 1,000 bay rank
Mm-hmm.
Right.
to start off with, and yeah, like some of us are at like 1,136, and that's real good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're not getting up to anything like the top 10 are on. Nothing like what you're on, Crisis. Sorry, Mike. We just ain't getting there. So I think seasons are really good in that regard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more we think about it, just like y'all said, the rank does matter. I still have my thing. Like I want people to just know, like if I step in there, like who I am. But to be 100% and completely honest, when I'm sure all of us, well, I won't speak for y'all, but when we were looking for the Beyblade tournaments, like when I found it out and came across a WBO, I wanted to find something that was established. It would have been nice for me to go to
Yep.
something that was just like maybe a local thing that was hosted just for fun, but having that established ranking or like that big tournament, like that overall goal, because it does give you a sense of like I am doing well. This isn't just me playing with my local neighborhood friends, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm doing well on a national, international level. And that is something to take away. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not pro athletes, but if you have that competitive
We're
drive,
proud of still.
yeah, yeah, and that's we're not, yeah, that and with that competitive spirit, competitive drive is that is something that's a goal to work towards, and yeah, the ranking definitely does impact that. So yeah, I mean, I've been guilty of it and been like, oh, it shouldn't matter as much as it does, and I would say like people don't need to be cheating and fighting over the rank,
No. Right.
but
No.
it is something that is. Like it's just what you said. That's what makes the WBO. The ranking in and of itself, and like the wiki, like the knowledge
Yeah.
is there for the community base and what we do. But this
Exactly.
is competitive. It's overall competitive organization, and that's kind of what it's centered around. So solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it mostly is. It's the ranking system is mostly there in a sense to track your own progression.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean, and yeah, it's cool. Like it's definitely cool now that like people on the WBO know who Crisis Crusher 07 is. Oh, he's one of the top
Yeah.
players. Like
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
expected to have that happen.
Yeah.
I just came wanting to play Beyblade, and I'll be honest, like when I got to like the top 20, I thought that was really cool. I
Yeah.
never expected to get to like 4th place now. Like I never expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I give you stuff like crisis bragging or whatever, this and that. But it is an accomplishment, man.
It really
It,
is.
it is an accomplishment because, like, even now, especially our last interview with Fireblader, I'm not gonna lie, bro. My goal in this tournament is to be number one in North Carolina again. It is a drive for me, you know. I want to compete with him, and then it's fun, and it's those rivalries are fun. Like you said, when with Allen, like that's what really sparks your interest. Like I know you had a big rivalry with Alan Schaefer,
Yeah.
and it gets you going, man. And then when we look about it, that's what makes this more of a sport and makes it more enjoyable. So it's like, yeah, we could try to say like, hey, it doesn't matter, but it is a thing that does, and it's something I s- I stand by this forever. If there was a seasonal thing or just like a reset of some kind, I can see people always bringing out their A game,
Yep.
and our monthly tournaments would be flooded because there's probably a couple people that just stopped because they looked at the rank and was like, dude, there's no way I'll be able to accomplish that goal from my region or my area. But I'm sure maybe some people are looking at that even in your local community, and it was like, hey guys, it reset. Let's put Australia on the map, and you'll probably
Well,
have a.
it'd be a lot better too if then like you go to a tournament and someone like we have Ryan the Dragon. He's
Mhm.
he really gets upset when he loses because he's like he wants to prove that he's better than what people might think he is.
Yeah.
But if you had a reset, it's like, well, look, you're not going to catch up this year, but keep practicing and get better, and then come next year when the reset starts,
Exactly.
boom, you can get right in there right at the start and stay ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like my guys don't look at the ranks, but I think that if we actually had a shot of us being on the front page, I think there'd be a lot of demand for us to host better. It'd be a lot easier for me to get people out because I've got a lot of people in my scene who are really competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a lot easier to get people out, get them together for tournaments, get hosted, and get more people to host here as well. So it's not just me doing it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think a seasonal reset would help us get more people out and do more tournaments. I think it's a great idea, and it's just a matter of implementing it, which is I think the biggest challenge. Because I think everyone knows seasons is a good idea. Is the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to do at the moment. I
think
believe.
it's the platform.
Yeah.
I think
I can't say too much.
With it. Yeah.
I can't say too much, but MyBB,
Yeah,
you can try using MyBB. It's old, it's clunky. A rank, I think it has already been said publicly. It's a little bit janky. And yeah, so I'm assuming it's a technological thing as to why we wouldn't do something like that immediately. But I really do hope it's something that we can do. I think seasons is probably one of the big key things about fixing this up, and it also then means it becomes a lot more reasonable to mix in a broader range of things into one ranking when it's just a yearly ranking, not a lifetime thing.
Yeah. I mean, for, worst case scenario, I would just hope that okay, we have the Metal Fight rankings and the Burst rankings, and then just be like, look, those are locked in now. Like when Beyblade X comes out, those are locked in. We're not going to mess with them anymore. Now we're just going to have this other system that starts right now at 0, and it's just everything goes into this one ranking system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope if nothing else, we at least start fresh. If we're not going to change everything else, then it's probably best for us to start fresh with X.
Yeah.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. This is something I thought, and I don't want to stay on ranking just forever, but even if, because MyBB is quite old, there are several sites and several like methods and forms for various ranking systems. I was only trying to think of incorporating it with just our tournament so that everything flowed and smooth together. But even if we had just a link when you look for ranking, if it wasn't associated with or associated on the WBO site, but it took you to the other site, and that site was exclusively for you to put in your brackets, exclusively for you to put in just to read the ranking. That way we can still hold on to the forums and WBO doesn't get like thrown away. But we can have that link for when you want to see the rankings, and it's clean and well organized.
Yeah.
But that's just something. Yeah.
I think there's a bit of there's a lot to be said for doing things in house as well. Obviously, in terms of keeping them up and not say having Challenge disappear tomorrow, we'd struggle. We had an outage on Challenge recently that completely messed up a couple tournaments. So there's something to be said for doing it internally, but there's also a point where we need to be realistic about what our capabilities are. And I think it's getting to the point where I think, as you said, it would be really good to have an all-in-one sort of solution for doing your brackets and the rankings, where it was all automatic. We could have oversight of it as staff, but it was all automatic, and it functioned reliably. And took a lot of the manual stuff off our hands as well.
Yeah. I'm all anything that could be done. I think for the overall progression, because even I see it, like we talk about the ranking, we talk about staying up to date with the newest releases and these things. Anything that could bring more players to the community, for it to grow, like I'm all about and for that, and I think that'll be extremely helpful. To kick things off, one last thing, Mike, do we have any questions? I don't think we do. No one's put any questions up on the forum, have they? For the show.
Let me double check. I don't think so. I don't think we've had any more recently.
I don't think so either.
Nope.
Okay. So is there anything that you wanted to go over specifically, or any questions that you have for us?
Not really. I think you guys have really covered everything off. Yeah, there's not a lot to ask. Like, we've gone over like all the big current pressing issues and the future pressing issues. Like, I think we've done a pretty good job tonight.
Yeah, I think
this morning for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. It's well, thank you, man. It's good to get you up here. I know I think when we all first met or first interacted, it was a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, and we're like, man, what's Nick talking
Yeah,
about? You know, it's like, what would you probably like? Well, man, what is Crisis arguing about? Like, what is Nick cool? Like thinking like, what's these guys? But to get up here and to have a legitimate discussion, like it's solid. Because the biggest thing I've noticed within Beyblade, it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. No one in the community is trying to kill the game. Like no one's
yeah,
joining up
exactly,
to be like, I'm about to destroy Beyblade. I'm about to destroy WBL. No one's doing that. They're just trying to voice their opinions on what
exactly,
they feel is best for their community or best for
exactly.
Beyblade and their viewpoint. And I think once we understand that and have these discussions and things like that, it honestly grows the community, strengthens the community beyond growing it. It
Yeah,
strengthens it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the one thing that I think it definitely takes time to learn too, that you gotta just remember and realize everyone that's
yeah,
very passionate about Beyblade, they're only arguing because they feel very passionate about it.
Yeah.
exactly,
100%.
It's not that they're personally like I want to just ruin this guy or anything. It's just
exactly,
they want to see Beyblade better tomorrow than it was today.
Hmm.
exactly. It's like I think that having that perspective, like I obviously totally agree with that. I think that's why you and me, like we've had some arguments, and then at the end of the day, we can just message each other on Discord and be like, "Hey man, so what do you think of this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I had this idea." Like it's so good. Like just yeah, it's super important to keep in mind that we're all here to make Beyblade as good as possible, and to help the WBO operate as best as possible. And it's really important to just keep in mind, yeah, just like none of us start off on perhaps the best foot, but the fact we can come here and do this is it's so good, and it's part of what makes Beyblade and the WBO's community really special to me, because it's not somewhere you really see that sort of thing. It's not something you really see happen elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I wanna say thank you once again. I appreciate you staying up with us um to do this and
Nice.
interacting this one time. I definitely appreciate you writing up that proposal. Thank you to Mike, man. You know, like those
Yeah.
two working forces together to write up and the thoughts really help. I really see the gameplay as well as the community going in a healthy direction. Things kick off in July. And I'm definitely hoping the best for your community continues to grow and flourish. Uh, yeah. So without further ado, you got any shout outs or anything like that?
Nothing much. Got my YouTube channel, Plastics DB by Think, my plastics website, plasticsdb.com,
Hmm.
and my Instagram, which is at plasticsdb, if you want to follow me. But
Can
really,
you
just
send
check out the
me
WBO and attend a tournament.
solid? Can you send me all your links in Discord
Yeah,
and I'll
sure.
put them on the I'll put them at the bottom. Yeah, plastics. This is the plastics guru right here. This is the guy to talk to. Y'all blow up his Discord and ask questions away if you want to get information on
Oh,
that.
anytime.
Yeah. But yeah, once again, thank you, and we appreciate it. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. You got any questions? Like we said, you could throw them in the forum or hit us up on Discord. We'll answer your questions up on the show. Continue to get out there in your local communities and keep blading hard. I wanted to hit on this because this is the only time, or the last time I'll say it. I know I always be like and subscribe and this and that. I do not like pushing that or selling myself. If you like the show, do your thing. If you don't like the show, still do your thing. But I just wanted to plug that one last time. But anyways, get out there, play Beyblade, grow your communities, help the game and the sport that we love. All right, and everyone, take care.
Bye.
Night, everyone.